Getting to your first 100K isn't just one game. It's 3 completely different games and different phases. And what works in game 1 will actually completely hurt you in game 2 or 3. And I figured this out the hard way. I started off pretty broke and financially illiterate at 18, but by the age of 20, I had saved up over $100,000. And today I'm gonna break down exactly what to do at each stage because the advice completely changes at each different level. And it completely depends on where you're starting from. But real quick, drop a comment. Where are you starting off right now? Are you at 0, maybe negative, maybe 10 to 100? Please, there's no shame or embarrassment. We're literally all on this together. And before we start, I just want to make it clear, I'm not a financial advisor. This is what I would do with my money. I taught myself everything I knew and been sharing what I was doing with personal finance and investing online for the past 6 years. And this is my portfolio right now as credentials, but I am not a financial advisor. YouTube, please don't take this down. And thank you to Investing Pro from investing.com for sponsoring this video. All right, let's get into it. Phase 1 is getting out of the hole and getting prepared. Phase 2 is pushing up a boulder up a hill. And then phase 3 is letting that momentum ride for you. Now, Fidelity had a survey that found that the average net worth for people under 35 years old is around $183,000. But the median is only $39,000. Now, that gap tells you something important. Some people figure something out that the other half doesn't. And today, I'm gonna show you how to be on the right side of the gap. Now, phase 3 is really where the magic happens. That's where you let compound interest do all the heavy lifting, but you can't just skip from phase 1 to phase 3. You need to get through phase 1 first. So let's start with phase 1 because you're not going to get anywhere if you're in the hole. It's like one day you look in the mirror and you finally see it. You're out of shape. You're tired, you're unhappy, maybe you're a little flabby, and you realize that something has to change. Now with money, most people never have that kind of mirror moment. Nobody really wants to look at their finances because it gives them stress, so they avoid it. They avoid checking their credit score because they don't want to be stressed. They avoid looking at their credit card bills because they don't want to deal with it. And they just keep going, kind of pushing back that responsibility until it just breaks and falls in their hands. But here's the truth, when this happens, you're probably not even at 0. You're in the negative. Credit card debt, student loan debt, car payments. And because of this, you're not swimming towards the finish line. You're trying to swim, but these debts are pretty much weights tied to your ankle that are dragging you back down. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you had that mirror moment. I remember my first mirror moments when I was actually visibly fat because I've been spending everything, all my money on DoorDash. And I just looked myself in the mirror and thought, where was my life heading? I got $0 in my pockets. I was fat because I was just buying a bunch of DoorDash. What do I got going on for myself? And that's kind of when I realized that I needed to change. And so this is where phase 1 kicks in, and it's 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to track every single dollar. For at least 1 month, 3 months best, I want you to write down and track every single transaction, every single dollar that comes in and comes out. Every DoorDash, Amazon order, every side hustle income, every paycheck, you write everything down. The point of this exercise is to get a bird's eye view of your finances and see what's actually happening. Most people have no idea where their money is going. They kind of just guess. And then step 2 is to categorize your transactions into needs, wants, and your savings rates. Now your needs is everything that you spend on that you absolutely, since the name, need, rent, food, transportation, bills, a lot of these fixed things that aren't really gonna go away. Your wants is almost everything else. It's the things that you don't necessarily need. It's the luxuries, it's the shopping, it's the DoorDash. It's the things that you can live without. And your savings rates, which is gonna be the most important number, is what is left over at every single month. I want you to aim for at least 10% bare minimum. And as you go more, try to increase it more and more. And if you can't save 10% of your income, you either have 1, a spending problem, or 2, an income problem. Figure out which one because they're both different. Step number 3 is optional, or if you have it, and it's to eliminate your debts. Now there's 2 specific methods in order to get rid of debt. There's 1, the snowball method, which is when you pay off the smallest debt first, you get your quick wins, makes you feel good and keep you motivated, and you work your way up. And then the second method is the avalanche method, when you pay the highest interest first. Technically, you do save a lot more money because you're taking the one that is draining you the most, but it's a lot harder because you're working, on your way up to the bottom. So it's all up to you. Do you want to be more optimal or worry about the psychological fat? And that's because you still need to do step 4, which is to build your emergency fund. Your first couple $1,000s shouldn't be worried about investing. It should be really about creating a buffer between you and life, because life happens. Your car breaks down, maybe you lose a job, maybe you break a thumb. Nowadays in America, you can literally sneeze the wrong way and boom, $500 is out of your bank account. So you wanna have this kind of fail-safe fund because if anything happens, you'll be okay. Now I'm gonna be super honest about phase 1. It's not for the meek. Right now, you probably feel super motivated. Maybe in the first week, you're gonna write down everything and you're gonna swear that you're not gonna, make any impulse buys, but week 2, week 3, well, that motivation falters. We are emotional creatures. It is normal for us to forget or get lazy or just not want to do certain things. And this happens to everyone. This is why 90% of people fall off. Our solution to this is to focus on the systems. The initial motivation will get the ball rolling, but the systems is going to take you far. So if you're in phase 1 right now, I want you to do something. I want you to think about your future, your trajectory, what you want in life. And more importantly, where do you think you're headed if nothing ever changes? Picture yourself at 30, 40, 50. Are you still living paycheck to paycheck? Are you still stressed about money, still in the same spot? That should scare you if it's a yes. Use that as the initial motivation to build these systems and to get through phase 2. Now, once you've gone through this phase and you saved your couple $1,000s, something shifts. You prove to yourself that you can do it and you have what it takes. But phase 2 is where most people quit, and it's the hardest phase of them all. And I'm going to show you exactly how to survive it. Now, we just talked about how to get your money on the right side of the gap, not just by saving, but actually building a system for it. However, there's one thing that can still blow this up, and it's by buying in bad investments within that system. A couple years ago, I was just doing what most people do, buying ETFs and stocks because they felt right, or because some guy on Reddit or TikTok said it's gonna go to the moon. And sure, yeah, that worked. Until it didn't. And I watched some investments drop for reasons that I probably could have seen coming if I actually did the research and looked at the numbers. That's why now, once I get to phase 3 of this blueprint and start putting money into index funds and stocks, I run everything through one check before I buy. I've been using a tool called Investing Pro from investing.com, and this sponsoring this video, but genuinely, I've been using them a lot. For example, I can type in ETF or stock and Investing Pro does the boring part for me. In one screen, I get a fair value estimate, a financial health score, and a quick risk snapshot. This tells me in seconds if something looks undervalued, fairly priced, or straight up overpriced. Without, which is my favorite part, having 10,000 tabs open and having to read a 40-page earnings report. Me personally, I just can't do it. For example, this ETF that I'm looking at is showing as slightly undervalued with strong financial health. That tells me and gives me the confidence that I'm not just YOLOing into a meme stock. I'm buying something that actually has good numbers behind it. If this was flashing as way overpriced or had weak health, then I'd probably think twice before adding more or buying into it. And that right there is the difference between investing and gambling. And the best part is, Investing Pro fits into the exact system that we're building in this video. In 5 minutes, I can scan my entire portfolio, see what's undervalued, what's overpriced, and make decisions based on data instead of feeling. So the investing step in the routine isn't just automatic, but it's actually smart. And right now, they're running a flash sale of 55% off, and my code Angelo stacks on top of that for an extra 15% off. That's literally the lowest price you'll ever find. Because once this flash sale is over, the code won't stack up like this. So if you want to sanity check your own portfolio just like how I did, use the link in the description down below before it ends. And thank you again for Investing Pro for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. Phase 2 is where you push the boulder. Now, this is the hardest phase. You're kind of dealing with a lot of things from phase 1, but adding a lot more things. You're fighting against years of bad money habits or maybe money traumas you got from your parents. You're fighting against your own human impulses, not to mention all the corporates and social media, mega corporations that are trying to brainwash you to spend money. And so trying to make any inch of progress feels like you're trying to push a boulder up a hill. Constant effort, constant resistance, and it just feels like it's going to take, forever. Now, I want to share a concept with you that I learned from the Buddhists, and they talk about what's called the monkey mind. Now, I'm gonna keep this short, but if you ever try to meditate or maybe sit with yourself, where does your head go? And take back if you ever tried to read or maybe do some homework, you're trying to focus, but your mind is just in a gazillion different places. Now, money works the same exact way. You're gonna walk down the mall and see these new clothes that you've always liked, and you're gonna want to buy it. Or maybe you're hungry, so you walk past, McDonald's and you get a whiff of that quarter pounder, you're instantly gonna want to buy it. That's the monkey mind, that random Amazon purchase at 2 a.m. that maybe you didn't need. Monkey mind. Your job in phase 2 is to fight the monkey mind. Now, you don't have to be as extreme as me. Like, I went literally way too extreme. I was like running 8 miles just for haircuts. I was buying the cheapest food so I can save money. I was really penny pinching. You don't necessarily need to be like me, but how fast you want to go and reach that goal means how much you're able to sacrifice. Now, here's a tactical playbook that helped me hone and take control of my own impulses. The tactic number 1 is the 72-hour rule. If you're ever buying anything over $50 or even higher, wait at least 72 hours. 90% of the time, you'll probably forget about it and that impulse will kind of go away. And you know what's even crazier? That there's literally marketing strategies that are trying to take advantage of those impulse buys. So if you just wait 72 hours and see if it's just an impulse buy or if it's actual need. Now, tactic number 2 is to remove the triggers. And I learned this habit from James Clear's Atomic Habits. Every Every habit has two parts, a trigger and a response. So for example, let's say you're addicted to McDonald's quarter pounders. The trigger would be walking past the street and smelling it. And the response would be buying it and eating it. So it's really hard to get rid of the triggers when it comes to spending. But what you can do is make it really, really hard to do the response. When you leave the house, don't bring your credit card. Delete Apple Pay. When you go grocery shopping, literally take cash with you, the exact cash that you need. Unsubscribe from email marketing. Delete the Amazon app. That's removing the trigger. If you can make it hard for yourself to spend money, you're making it easier for yourself to save money. The point is to disrupt the system. You can either get rid of the trigger or make it really hard to do the response. Tactic number 3 is to automate your savings. Every time you get paid, automate 10%, 20% of every single dollar into either your savings or your investments. You never see it, you never touch it, it's already gone to your savings and investments. And if you want to see a video of exactly how to set this up and my whole money payday routine, I created a whole entire video on exactly how I do this, and I'll show it right here. And the tactic number 4 is to really test your limits. See how little you can spend without completely hating your life or burning out. Try to find your edge. What's the fine line between being disciplined and being miserable? Now, honestly, there's no easy way around this. You're just gonna have to literally test and see what you really have to survive. For me, I knew that I really don't need much to be happy. I found ways to really enjoy my life without needing to spend money, which I know is kind of like hard these days, I guess. Now, this phase honestly is gonna suck, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's supposed to be hard. You're rewiring years of bad habits, generational money traumas. You're fighting your monkey mind every single day. But once you really lock in and you hone in that mind and you save your first 10K, something really magical happens. You've built the muscle, the habits are locked in. And that brings you to phase 3, and this is where everything changes. Now, the hard work is mostly done. You built the habits, you've proven that you can save it, you know what you're doing. And now it's time to let that money work hard for you and let compound interest do its thing. It's time for you to start investing. Now, I want to explain investing really simple. If you ever played Minecraft, for example, it's pretty much how investing works. If you ever farmed sugarcane, you could just turn that into paper right then and use it. But if you want more, what you do is you plant it and then it grows. Then that one becomes 3. Then you can plant that and then that 3 becomes 9. And then you plant those 9 and then it becomes 27. That's how investing works. That's compound interest. It's really all about creating leverage and finding ways to do things without, doing more. And we've been doing this since the dawn of human history. Thousands of years ago when we were hunter-gatherers. We used to eat everything that we found immediately or what we'd hunt, but then we turned into farmers. We planted seeds, created farms, and that's how we were able to feed, tires of civilizations and build and go from hunter-gatherers to real advanced civilizations. And that's because we went from consuming everything that we had right away and then trying to earn it again, from investing into the future. And it's pretty hard to wrap your head around this of, delaying gratification, because our brains are not really wired for this. This is a famous psychological experiment called the marshmallow test, when they give a kid a choice between 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows if you wait, 15 minutes. Most of the kids just chose the marshmallow now instead of waiting and getting 2. We're all like those kids in a sense. That's why a lot of people don't really like to invest. I think a small portion of Americans in total invest at all or have a single stock. And here's some math that should change the way how you think about spending every dollar and should make you want to invest. $1 invested in your 20s turns to about $33 by the time you need to retire. And that's at a conservative 10% average return over 40 years, right? So that $50 DoorDash that you had, it's not just $50. It's $1,650 that you're giving up in future wealth. Every dollar that you make has a future version of itself that is just way bigger. And so here's your investing playbook for phase 3. You have 3 main priorities. 1 is to set up the right accounts. You want your Roth IRA, you want a 401k, and an individual brokerage account. Those are your 3 main investing vehicles. If you need a whole tutorial on how to invest and what these accounts are, I created a whole video on it, so please go watch that if you have the time. And then priority number 2 is to actually invest the money that you put into the account into index funds, ETFs, or individual stocks. I highly recommend to keep it simple and just invest into index funds, low-cost index funds like VOO, VTI, SPY, QQQM, things like that. You don't need to be a pro about investing, know about all the finances or anything like that. You can just shove your money in index funds and let that ride for you. Of course, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And then priority number 3 is to automate this process. Now, this is the most important thing that you can do. Investing only works if you're consistent. So please do not rely on your willpower and motivation. You will forget, you will falter. Rely on the systems and automate it. But here's something about phase 3 that you need to know. In phase 1 and phase 2, it's all about sacrificing and building learning, rewiring these old habits and kind of hustle and grinding. It's a lot of work and a lot of intensive labor. But at phase 3, when you're nearing that 100K, it's no longer about that. It's about longevity, not necessarily intensity. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't white knuckle this thing forever. If you do, you're probably just gonna hate your life and maybe you'll give up. And I realized that when I was trying to make my first 100K, I was grinding, but I became kind of super depressed. I was really just tunnel vision on money. The only thing I thought about was making and saving money. And looking back, I've definitely regret a lot of the things that I did or didn't do. Building wealth is good. Being financially literate is good, of course, but not at the cost of your own life and happiness. So on your way to your first 100K, it's okay to give yourself, some cheat days. You may shop, you can maybe eat out, maybe you can treat yourself to a little travel trip. Just be smart and plan for it. The goal is financial freedom, not financial imprisonment. You don't want to be Scrooge McDuck, but you also don't want to be Mr. Crab. And also when you're investing, you're not just throwing your money away, you are spending that money. But you're spending your money on freedom because it's buying you time. The freedom to quit the job that you hate, the peace of mind and freedom to take care of your family or take care of yourself, and the peace of mind that you know that you'll be okay. That's what every dollar that I invest is buying. And no, I know this stuff may feel like it's really overwhelming. If you're starting from zero especially, I understand. I was there, $600 to my name, literally no idea, broke, financially illiterate, no clue in life what I was doing. But phase by phase, dollar by dollar, it all adds up. If you want more breakdowns like this from someone who's actually in their 20s trying to build their wealth, hit the subscribe button. I post every week. And if you want to start investing right now, I have a free investing checklist for beginners. It walks you through the 5 steps of investing so you can invest your first $100,000 today. I'll leave in the description down below. Till next time.